expertise extends beyond coaching, with a passion for mentoring student athletes and educating in leadership, health science, sports psychology, and program evaluation, organization, and enhancement. Dawn has impacted countless lives on and off the field. Today's topic is the impact that social media has on the student athletes and their teams, which honestly is a huge issue. And I think now more than ever, we're starting to see the fruits of it beginning way back when. And I think Don can really speak to that because he's, with 40 years of coaching experience. Don, I think you can agree that you've seen it from one way to the other and how it has transitioned and what it has done to your players and your athletes. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dawn and let you kind of explain to us what all you've seen and what we can do about it.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's a pleasure to be part of this program. I'm very humbled. I was trying to, while you were reading that introduction, I was trying to figure out who you were talking about. So, the one thing that I learned in coaching and teaching is that, I don't want to start out and start bashing social media because I can't remember not having a cell phone, especially as a coach. And I can't ever remember, kids not having cell phones, even younger kids right now. And I want you to know that there's many, many profitabilities to having a cell phone and having social media. I'd like to speak to some of the positive things first. Number one, I find it daily that I'm able to keep up with my past friends, even though I don't talk with them every day. Sometimes I can just text them or at least find out where they're at. And what we're doing right now is it's very awesome. A Zoom call, online education, allows parents to, take classes from home and not leave their family. And in addition to the work that they do every day, there's a lot of marketing that's available through social media. I use it a lot for recruiting student athletes and staying in touch with them and reading about what they're, I go onto Twitter and I try to figure out what other schools are they looking at. There's opportunities for advancement, learning, finding out where your community support is, planning. And it's excellent. It's excellent if used the right way for engagement and for exploring your options for college and high school careers. It can make high school and law officials really aware of what's going on in the community. So I think there's many positive and upsides to social media. And so the last thing I want to do is come in here and tell everybody, hey, don't do this or don't do that or don't do this, but to understand that it's a double-edged sword. Okay. And, one of the things that I always have learned, and I talk to our athletes about it all the time, is there's three things that will change you as a person, and one of them is what you read. The other one is what you hear. And the third one is what you see. And the power of social media is evident in all three of those. So, you pick up your phone, you can hear what's on it, you can see what's on it, and you can read what's on it. And it changes lives. From from the horror standpoint, there's cyberbullying, depression, suicide, drugs, gang violence, harassment, and improper photos are immediately available on that if that's what you're looking for. The impact that social media has on the young people's lives and the way that they think about themselves and the way that they think about situations can be influenced in a mere 10 seconds. So whenever I start thinking about the impact that social media has had on college and high school athletes, I start thinking about what it's done to their mental health. There's a constant pressure to maintain a perfect image, and we all know that people can take pictures of us and in certain times and then post them without even asking us, or say things that can be very, very disrespectful, and it leads to anxiety, depression, and stress related problems and actually causes people to really, utilize negative coping skills to try to get around those issues. The threat to comparison in athletics, especially in high school, it never ends, you know? And not only are the kids seeing it, but then the parents see it. And then when the parents see it, they kind of stress it down to the kids, and then they put it onto the program. And the mental issues that are caused by this are, immediate, and you can't hide them. It's one of those things that um, you're trying to stay up with the Joneses, and they're not really accomplishing anything by doing that. So I think that the negative side of social media really deals with the mental health issues that are coming about right now. It also has become a major distraction, and it's an enemy of time management because uh, you know is the word addictive appropriate in this state? Where you start looking at something on Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat, and then all of a sudden, you're on it for an hour and you don't even know it. Well, that's time that could be spent studying. It's time that you could be spent training. It's time that could be spent sleeping. And I know that a lot of times the first thing that teenagers do or young kids do whenever they get up out of bed, they want to look at their phone. Okay. That's not healthy. It's just not. And I think that, whenever you get out of high school and even in high school, and you get to college, the biggest problem I have with our college students, my student athletes, is teaching them how to time manage. And where does it say during your day that there's time to be spent on a phone? And they don't go anywhere without their phones. They're constantly aware of everything that's happening in our society at a given moment. So management can become a very big problem. Yesterday, I met with a high school coach from up in Cleveland. I won't use his name, but he talked to me about a study that was conducted from 1960 until the present day about the effects of social media and how it has impacted the integration of young kids going to things like high school dances, um, and any other type of opportunities to join in socially with other people, because they spend so much time on their phone and they become more isolated. So it was like back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where 80% of the kids might be involved with going to dances or shows or stuff like that. And only 12% are doing it now. So it definitely has impacted the interaction between individuals because they become so isolated sitting on their phone. So, I had never really thought about that until that coach brought it up yesterday, but I think it's a very, very valid point. Um, from a from a coaching standpoint, um, what's said in the media can immediately impact your team. It can make players jealous of each other. It can, you know, um, basically really upset the atmosphere and the authenticity of your program by what some people have to say. And I mean, the attitude of your program and the culture of your program is very, very delicate. And one or two things, that old saying about one bad apple can rotten the whole bunch. Well, one bad incident can rotten the whole bunch, or one bad post on the internet can, lead people to have, perceptions of you that they may or may not be true. So it could really help. It could really hurt a person's future, whether they're a star athlete or whether they're just somebody is just a high school student trying to be a star athlete. But um, it will definitely impact the way that people feel about you. So social media carries with it a perception that everything that's written on there is true. Okay, so it's hard to get young people to understand that not everything on there is accurate. And so they take it and then they look at it, and then it causes them to raise questions. And it really plays a major part in how they feel about a given situation or a given person. So from a personal standpoint, I had a daughter that and this was in you know, maybe 2007 or 2008, where, her dad had one of these gigantic cell phones, but she had a cell phone. We had moved to Virginia from Ohio, and her personality had changed. She's, I mean, I couldn't I just kind of attributed it to, she's in her teens, but she was very withdrawn. She didn't talk at dinner. She wasn't interested in the things that she was normally interested in. And one day, her mom saw on her phone that she was being bullied by a group of girls. Okay. Now this is maybe 2 or 3 years after we got there, and I had noticed a change in her personality. And to this day, she has been, scarred by that. Um, I think that if I would have known about that a little bit sooner, I might have been able to do something about it. So that's why I really think that this cyber safely is such a great tool, because if I'd have known about that, I'd have been able to do something as far as foresight as opposed to hindsight. And she was close to doing something to herself, and I mean that is very, very, it's hard for me to talk about, but it's a learning experience. And I can tell you, to this day, she's 30, and she still sees some people about it. So I want you to know that the long lasting effects of being bullied, it doesn't go away unless you get some help from somewhere. So I think that, this company, Cyber Safely, can really help us in that, to make sure that people don't get to that place, because parents really do need to pay attention to what's going on. Every place I go, even if it's at a restaurant with kids at the table, everybody's on the phone. They're not communicating with each other. So it's got to hurt the families. It's got to hurt teams. And I know that there's some positive points about it, but the lasting negative effects that it has on a person, on an organization, and on a culture can be devastating. It can damage the reputation of individuals. I've seen that happen. I've seen kids lose their scholarships because of what has been posted by somebody outside of their, like, maybe you're at a party and you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, and then somebody videos it and puts it online. Next thing you know, the college coach is calling them saying, "Hey, we're not going to accept you because of what we saw right there." So, and those are true stories. They're not made up. So there's privacy problems, there's violations, there's impacts of families, rumors. I mean, the negatives, I think, can far outweigh the positives if you let them. Um, just like anything else in this world, it can be used for the good, or it can be used for the bad. It's up to that individual. But um, there seems to be people out there that don't have consciences about other people's lives. So that's the number one thing that I want to get across. Um, Nobody can doubt the impact that something negative that they post on the internet, on Facebook, on Twitter, can have a major impact on how people feel about them. Employers, if you think about a college coach in Division I or Division II, they're thinking about investing thousands, really 100,000 plus, into a young man or a young lady. And so they want to know what they're getting. They want to know who they want to spend their time with. And is it an investment, or is it going to be a cost? Is it expensive, or is it going to be something that will help them grow their program? And so it stands to reason that they're going to find out as much as they can about that individual before they invest that type of money in them. And I have seen that happen. And, it's very, very important that, kids keep a clean slate as to what they're doing on social media, and they're using it the right way. So the power to win comes from within the individual. Power to win comes from within the team. and the team's culture can be spoiled by just a few poor choices on social media. So with that, I'm willing to field any questions.
Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat, or if you want to just unmute yourself and ask, you can do that as well. Okay, as a coach, have you seen a rise in players getting in trouble with social media in recent years?
Well, I think yes, more in high school than in college, because
Yeah,
I think that, well, first of all, most of the college kids are going to be screened before they get in there. Okay. So, if I found out somebody was doing something on social media, I don't care how good of an athlete they were, you know, I wouldn't recruit them. Okay. Because you're recruiting a problem. But I think more in high school because kids are unaware of the malicious things that can be said. And I think that there's high school coaches are out there that spend a majority of their time monitoring the kids' social media so that they don't get into trouble. And I think that whenever you're in your mid-teens, you don't consider how vulnerable you become whenever you make a mistake online. You're not aware that it doesn't go away. And so, yeah, I do think there's more problems in high school than there is in college.
so, as a coach, would you say that it's more the parents' issue to oversee their kids' social media, or do you feel like that coaches are taking the responsibility on themselves? And should it be the parents' responsibility?
It should be the parents' responsibility, but I understand why the coaches are doing it because, we as coaches, and I've been in coaching for 45 years, do it because we love kids. And in order to, make sure that our kids are going in the right direction, we're always going to tell them the right thing, hopefully. Okay. So if you really care about the person beyond their athletic feats on the field, then you're always going to tell them that, hey, this could really hurt you. And I think that that's what these high school coaches, they play a role in it
Yeah,
because, I mean, I heard it once said that a coach will impact more people in 1 year than most people do in a lifetime. So it's obvious that, if I had to pick out next to my mom and dad, the top impact people in my life, they were coaches.
yeah,
That's why I went into coaching. So those kids, they're going to listen to their coaches because we have something that they want. All right. We have
right.
their future in our hands if they want to continue to go and get an education and to be able to play a sport at the college level. So, I think it's really, really important that the coach and the parents work together on, as Neil and all of his employees talk about, it takes a village. All right. So it takes people working together towards a common goal, and that's to promote the youth of our company or our country by influencing their youth to do the right things.
Have you had an athlete lose their college scholarship because of social media or what they posted?
I have not, but I know of some from high schools around the area that have. But at our school, we don't give scholarships, so it's all based. Now, I've seen kids lose opportunities on being
Yeah.
able to go to school because of what they've done on social media. All right, um, and you might find out, well, how does somebody find out? What all they have to do is friend them. Next thing you're getting everything that they're getting. I don't know as much about social media as what I should, but I could tell you that I know of people that have lost opportunities and lost job opportunities because of it.
Right. How important is the administrators and the coaches in high school and middle school in working on this problem?
I think it's very important because we're all in it for the same reason. We're trying to help kids become young adults. Okay.
Right.
So if we're trying to teach, there's always going to be accountability, responsibility, and what's expected. So I remember this statement for being a young football player. If you want to, if you want to be a man, then act like one. If you want to be a winner, then act like one. You're never a loser until you act like one. So the number one thing is that to try to make sure that our kids know the perils of this. And,
Yeah.
and, what physical harm and, if people really listened to what's going on, I think AI is a great way to, they can analyze words and find out what's going on in different people's lives just by the way that they're writing or talking. And, send some information to people that care about them so that they can step in and find out what that's going on.
Well,
So,
and that's one thing I kind of love about the whole cyber safely thing is I know a lot of times as a parent and for parents, sometimes it feels overwhelming, like monitoring your kids' social media because it feels like they're 14 steps ahead with the things they know how to do and what to do. And so to have a program that can come in and, kind of do the work for you by using an algorithm, I think is a great thing. So I guess my question to you as a parent is, you mentioned that your daughter kind of dealt with bullying and things like this and how it's affected her long term. How do you think having a program like Cyber Safely would have changed her life?
well, it would have given me, right away, it would have given me an opportunity to understand why her personality had changed. And then I would have been able to look into it. And I think that's what caring parents do. That, they're parents. Um, I don't care if my kids call me nosy. All right. I'm, it's because I love them. And if I don't step in, what are the other consequences? So, I think that a lot of parents, speaking to what I would have done a lot of things sooner.
Okay.
I did everything on the back end, and I had to bring the law into it, and it was ugly.
Yeah.
And what she did was she got further discriminated because I brought the law in.
Oh,
Okay, because down there in that situation, um, one of the people were connected with one of the administrators in the school. Okay, so there was kind of like a hands-off type of thing. All right. But I can just tell you that I think that it's up to parents to make sure that they are still parents,
right.
and they can still save their kids from making mistakes and take the responsibility and accountability to make sure that their kids are doing the right thing. And I think cyber safely is a great tool for that.
Do you feel like in the schools there's anybody else besides obviously the parents, maybe if they're monitoring it or monitoring it? You say the coaches are monitoring it because they're worried about, team dynamics and, college, things like that. Is there anybody else in the school, especially maybe on a high school level, that is kind of monitoring how much kids are on social media, but also kind of what's happening? Like, do you feel like any administrators, teachers, anybody else is involved?
I definitely feel that there are administrators and teachers in several schools that care about the kids, but they don't know how, they don't know what the laws are. They don't know how to interact with them. But I do believe that, guidance counselors get to know these kids, coaches get to know these kids, and then teachers that are in it for the right reason, they get to know these kids too. And they can see a change in personality. And oftentimes I've seen it just in my 1 year at Massillon High School as the dean of students, they care about them. So, it's unfortunate that some schools allow the kids to have their phones in school and some schools don't. I'm not going to call what I think should happen, but I do think that kids can actually be bullied while they're in school,
Oh, yeah.
in the lunchroom, in the hallways, um, and nobody's able to really know what's going on because kids are too proud to report it. They don't want to tell mom or dad because it makes them look weak. But really, it's the key to their mental health. So,
Okay, this is a great question. With 45 years of coaching experience, has coaching changed or become more difficult with the rise of social media? I feel like I can answer that for you.
um, yes and no. If you're an individual and you're a coach that doesn't really care about the kids, but only cares about their athletic performance, then it doesn't really affect you.
Right.
But if you're a coach that when somebody walks in the room, you can recognize, um, whether they're having a good day or a bad day, and you're willing to ask them about it. And, you're willing to really get involved with them and, kind of do the Lord's work of treating people the way that you want them to treat you. Well, then, yeah, it does affect you because you take that kid home with you in your heart and you do something about it. So, I think there's coaches that really, I think the higher up you go, the more coaches really are, it's just a business. But
Mhm.
at my level and with the high school coaches where this can be really prominent, is that it gives them a chance to show how much they care and actually build a stronger team.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions? Tony would like to know the play on the board behind you.
It's called San Antonio. It's a zone blitz to execute against the run and to stop the play action pass, which is an RPO.
There you go.
Everybody has a job and they have to do it, Tony.
That's right. Okay. Thank you all for joining us so much. And Dawn, thank you so much for your wisdom and telling us kind of how we can, what we can do better as parents, administrators to protect our students better in a world that it seems to be kind of getting wilder and wilder as we go. So if anybody wants to know more about cyber safely or to ask your school to join, just visit cybersafely.ai and click on the Get Involved button on the homepage, or you can reach out to whoever sent you this email because they will also tell you. And then next time, our next meeting is going to be Wednesday, March 27th at 12:30 Eastern. So yeah, if anybody has any other questions, now's your time. But if not, we are finished. Thank you so much.